Welcome to all of you that are looking at blending teaching strategies, technology, and emerging trends to create some engaging educational experiences. Now in a few of our videos, we've been playing around with Camtasia Studio to create educational videos for either our classrooms or our trainings. Now today we want to look at 3 tools within Camtasia that serve a similar purpose, but they're also very different, and the reasons why we would want to use them are different. Now those 3 tools will be transitions, behaviors, and animations. Oh my! Now that's a little Wizard of Oz reference, and I'm kind of worried that's a bit dated. But regardless, in this video we're not going to actually look at how to implement them. We're going to look at when and why to use them. For the implementation, we'll create some videos later on, and we'll put those down in the description so you can go and see how to actually put them in the video. But for this one, we want to just see when and why we use them. So let's go ahead and get this bad boy started. Alright, so out of the 3 items, we're going to start out with transitions, because transitions are basically the easiest ones to use and to explain. So with transitions, they can be placed at either the beginning or the end of an item or a group to make them appear and disappear with a little bit of flair rather than some kind of harsh cutoff on an entry or exit. Transitions affect all items the same, and any groups that you place them on will also have the entire group do that transition at once. You can adjust the length of the transition, but that's about it. Outside of that, you can choose different types of transitions if they're available, so go ahead and play around with them and find which ones you like. Here you can see a fade transition, since we're going to compare how fades work with the other 2 tools as well. If you want to try a different transition, you just go to the transition menu on the left and click one, drag and drop it, and see what it does. Now the next level up on these is behaviors. Behaviors still impact the beginning and the end of an item that's coming in, but it also adds a little bit of spice to the middle, because we can continue movement in the middle of a behavior where we can't do that with a transition. Now in addition to picking different types of behaviors, you can also adjust the speed of behaviors to do things in order to fit what you need them to do in certain areas of your video. You can also mix and match the different types of behaviors as you go. Behaviors can be put on individual items or groups just like the other tools, and one big difference between behaviors and transitions is actually the way that they can affect the text annotation tool. Many of the behaviors will also look similar to transitions if you use them with normal assets, but when you put them on text, they come with some additional effects. For example, if we fade in an annotation, you can see that it works just like the transition did. However, if we fade in text, you can see that it fades in at each letter of the text at a slightly different pace compared to the transition fade, bringing it all in at once. Now this can create a really cool visual effect. But if you're going to just be doing fading in, fading out, both tools work, behaviors, transitions. But if you want to add a little bit more of the way things come in and handle themselves, behaviors are going to give you a lot more power to do that. Now the third tool that we're going to look at are animations. And animations differ from behaviors and transitions in one very important way. Both transitions and behaviors leave the item that you place them on in the same space on the canvas. If you move the item, the behavior or the transition moves with it. But what if I actually want to move them across the screen? Kind of started on one side, but after a couple of seconds it kind of gradually makes its way to the other. That is where the animation comes into play. For animations, you have to think of where you want the item or the group to start and where you want it to stop. When thinking of this, it can change all kinds of things like position, size, opacity, or even the color. It's all about being creative and thinking of what you want it to look like at the beginning and what you want it to look like at the end. You can even do it where maybe it goes up and down in the same motion. To do that, all we really need to do is put 2 different motion paths together, and boom, you've got it working. All it is creativity and thinking of how you want that start and that stop to finish. Now, one thing to remember when editing these things is that you can't just click and drag an animation like you can a behavior and transition. That's that one important way that we had mentioned before. If you move an animation on the canvas, it will think that you're trying to change the endpoint, not the entire location of that item. So if I want to move something down or up, and I mean the whole thing, not just the endpoint, you have to click on this little button above the properties box. That will move all of your animation points for the entire thing at once rather than just the endpoint. When done, be sure to click that thing off, otherwise when you try to move the endpoint later, it's just going to mess stuff up. Now once you have the animation set like you want it, you can adjust the length of the animation in the timeline to get the fit with your narration or music just perfect. Remember that if you truly want to have something move across the screen, animation is the way to go. So as before, we can use an animation with changing the opacity to say 0%, and we basically have a fade effect like with the transitions. Now again, all of the tools create a general fade effect. It just depends on which ones you're more comfortable with and which ones you want to use in that scenario, if a fade in and fade out is what you're going for. One last note to say before we wrap these things up is that don't forget you can mix and match these tools as you're playing with them on the canvas. So let's make, say, an icon on top of an annotation, and it appears using a behavior. Then we can use an animation to just make it move across the screen. Once it makes it across the screen, we can have it fade out using a transition. A solid, smooth movement scene using the three tools all together. So now that you know the difference between animations, behaviors, and transitions, which one would you use and in what scenarios? I know for me, I just usually go with animations and behaviors. I don't know why, I just really like those ones. But I'm curious to see what you guys would say and which one reigns supreme. So go ahead and put which one you think you would use down in the comments box below. Do you also think there's another one of those like fade in and fade out where it can be done on any of the three of them? Also, if you have any questions on how to use the three, go ahead and put those down in the comments as well so we can kind of try and get those cleared up for you. And if you guys are interested in more content like this where we're kind of talking through different technologies and teaching strategies and blending them together, be sure to hit that subscribe button because we're always trying to get new content out there to help you guys make those educational experiences just a little bit better. So in the meantime, good luck, keep building, and we look forward to seeing what you guys create in the future.